Tonight, we dissect a poison far more subtle than hemlock, yet infinitely more destructive. You believe you are the master of your fate. You believe your failures, your addictions, your financial ruin are your own creations. You are mistaken. What if I told you that your self-destruction was meticulously engineered, that the chaos consuming your life is not random, but the calculated endgame of a psychological war you never knew you were fighting? Tonight, we expose the architecture of covert emotional manipulation. We will delve into the shadows where the Dark Tetrad narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sadism brew their toxins. We will not merely analyze the abuse. We will perform an autopsy on the resulting self-sabotage. If you have ever felt your reality fracture, if you have watched your life crumble while blaming yourself for the collapse, this lesson is your antidote. Prepare the laboratory. The dissection begins now. Welcome to the Dark Academy. I am the Potion Master, and this is where we transmute poison into wisdom. Our subject tonight is not the overt tyrant, the bully who brandishes anger openly. No, those creatures are amateurish, easily identified. We are concerned with the subtle venom, the manipulation that hides beneath the guise of love, concern, and even victimhood. This is covert emotional manipulation. It is the art of altering your perception, eroding your willpower, and destroying your self-esteem without ever raising a hand. It is psychological warfare waged in whispers. The perpetrators of this dark art are not random. As detailed in the texts we have added to our ledger today, they possess specific traits. We previously discussed the Dark Triad, but modern alchemy recognizes a fourth element, forming the Dark Tetrad. First, the narcissist. Driven by an insatiable hunger for validation, they love not you, but the reflection of their grandiose self in your eyes. Their manipulation is aimed at maintaining their supply. Second, the Machiavellian, the cold calculator, the strategist who views relationships as transactions and people as pawns. Their manipulation is purely strategic, devoid of emotion, aimed at achieving a specific goal power, money, control. Third, the psychopath, defined by a chilling lack of empathy and a high level of impulsivity. They manipulate because they can. It is a game, a thrill, a momentary distraction from their inner void. And fourth, the sadist, the everyday monster who derives pleasure from the suffering of others. Their manipulation is aimed simply at causing pain, because your discomfort is their delight. These are the architects of your ruin, and their preferred method is the slow drip of covert poison. Why do they choose this method? Because it is deniable. Because it allows them to maintain the facade of the loving partner, the dedicated colleague, the wounded soul. It allows them to engineer your collapse while claiming innocence. Consider the evidence from the case files. 7 years. 7 years spent in a crucible of escalating deception. It did not begin with a sudden discard. It began with the slow, meticulous erosion of boundaries. The small lies that were excused. The instincts that were dismissed as paranoia. This is the essence of covert manipulation. It relies on your desire to maintain peace, your willingness to compromise, your capacity for empathy. They weaponize your virtues against you. Let us examine the primary techniques of corrosion. The first and most destructive is gaslighting, the systematic denial of your reality. As the texts define it, gaslighting involves persistent denial of obvious facts, misdirections, contradictions, and blatant lying. The goal is to make you doubt your own mind, your own memories, your own sanity. Recall the countless times your instincts screamed that something was amiss. The late nights, the hidden phones, the triangulation with phantoms from the past. You presented evidence, you demanded honesty, and what was the response? Not admission, but attack. You are crazy. You are insecure. You are insecure. This is not merely lying. It is an assault on the very fabric of your perception. When this poison is administered over years, the mind begins to fracture. You internalize the manipulator's voice, become your own jailer, convinced that you are the source of the chaos. The manipulator uses techniques like withholding, pretending not to understand your concerns, or countering questioning your memory of events and offering a sanitized version where they are the hero. When you are subjected to this relentless psychological assault, you lose your grounding. You become untethered from truth, and in that state of confusion, you are ripe for control. The second technique is projection, the transference of the manipulator's own flaws, failures, and malicious intent onto you. Manipulators cannot bear the weight of their own darkness. They lack the internal structure to process guilt or shame. Therefore, they must expel it. They must make you carry it. If they are cheating, they will accuse you of infidelity. If they are lying, they will accuse you of dishonesty. If they are manipulative, they will accuse you of being controlling. We see this clearly in the case files. After the initial betrayal, your capacity to love unconditionally was damaged. You grew colder, more distant. This was a natural defense mechanism, your psyche attempting to protect itself from further harm. And how did the manipulator react? With understanding, with remorse? No, with rage. She was furious that you did not love her the same way. Furious that you were no longer the compliant, adoring mirror she required. She accused you of changing, of withholding affection, of failing the relationship. This is projection in its purest form. She betrayed you, yet she cast you as the betrayer of the relationship's idealized image. She fractured the trust, yet she blamed you for the resulting instability. This is a masterful deception. It forces you onto the defensive. Instead of addressing their betrayal, you find yourself defending your character, apologizing for your reactions, begging for the return of a love that never truly existed. The third technique is isolation, the systematic severing of your support systems. A manipulator cannot maintain control if you have access to objective reality. They require an echo chamber where their narrative is the only truth. They will drive wedges between you and your family, your friends, anyone who might offer a dissenting voice. They will criticize your loved ones, create drama, demand that you choose between them and everyone else. They may use subtle methods, complaining every time you wish to see your friends, creating emergencies that require your immediate attention, or simply making your life so chaotic that you lack the energy to maintain other relationships. Isolation facilitates abuse. It increases your dependency on the manipulator. They become your sole source of information, your only confidant, your only reality check, and their reality is a lie. The fourth technique is intermittent reinforcement, the calculated cycle of affection and withdrawal. This is perhaps the most insidious technique, as it creates the trauma bond, the addiction to the manipulator. They will shower you with love, affection, and attention, the love bombing phase. They will make you feel cherished, adored, understood. This sets the hook. It creates the addiction to the high. Then they withdraw. They become cold, distant, critical. They give you the silent treatment. They withhold affection. This creates a state of anxiety, confusion, and desperation. You find yourself scrambling to regain their favor, apologizing for perceived slights, begging for the return of the affection you crave. And just when you are about to break, they return with the affection. The relief is overwhelming. It reinforces the bond. It teaches you that enduring the abuse is the price you must pay for the affection. We see this in the case files. You attempted to leave. You recognized the toxicity. And what happened? The manipulator returned with a forever letter, a calculated dose of positive reinforcement designed to reel you back into the cycle. This cycle is not random. It is deliberate. It is designed to keep you off balance, addicted, and compliant. These techniques, gaslighting, projection, isolation, and intermittent reinforcement, are the tools the manipulator uses to dismantle your psyche. But they are merely the means to an end. The end game of covert emotional manipulation is not merely control. It is the complete annexation of your identity, leading inevitably to your self-destruction. This is the crucial point where many fail to connect the dots. They view the abuse and the subsequent collapse as separate events. They are not. One is the direct consequence of the other. When your reality is fractured, your willpower depleted, and your self-esteem destroyed, you become vulnerable to behaviors you never thought possible. The trauma inflicted by years of covert manipulation does not simply vanish when the relationship ends. It metastasizes. It seeks an outlet. Consider the aftermath detailed in the case files. The discard was sudden, brutal, and calculated for maximum devastation. Left in the wreckage, the victim did not simply grieve. They imploded. The financial ruin, the addiction to gambling, the loss of the entire net worth in a matter of months, the crippling debt. You look at this and see weakness. You see failure. You see a lack of discipline. I see the predictable outcome of prolonged psychological warfare. When a person has been systematically stripped of their agency, when they have been conditioned to believe they are powerless, they will seek control wherever they can find it. The addiction is not about the money. It is about the illusion of control. The adrenaline rush of the gamble provides a temporary reprieve from the unbearable pain of the betrayal. It is a form of self-medication, a desperate attempt to numb the agony of a fractured soul. The chaos of the addiction mirrors the chaos of the relationship. The cycle of hope and despair in the casino mimics the cycle of love bombing and devaluation. The victim, addicted to the intensity of the trauma bond, recreates that intensity in the addiction. The self-destruction is the manipulator's ultimate victory. It confirms their narrative that you are always the broken one, the unstable one, the failure. It allows them to walk away unscathed, leaving you to drown in the wreckage they created. They did not just betray you. They programmed you for self-sabotage. They planted the seeds of destruction and watched them bloom. This is the true horror of covert emotional manipulation. It does not merely wound you, it turns you into a weapon against yourself. But understanding the mechanism of the poison is the first step to synthesizing the antidote. You are not broken, you are wounded, and wounds, however deep, can heal. The path to recovery requires a radical reclaiming of your reality, your willpower, and your self-esteem. It requires a ruthless commitment to truth, even when that truth is agonizing. The first step is the absolute cessation of contact. No contact. This is not negotiable. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You must sever the connection completely, blocking all avenues of communication. This is the quarantine necessary to stop the spread of the infection. The second step is the meticulous documentation of the abuse. The ledger. Write it down. Every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal. This is not about dwelling on the past. It is about validating your reality. It is about creating an irrefutable record of the truth that counteracts the years of gaslighting. When the doubt creeps in, when the trauma bond attempts to pull you back, you must return to the ledger. Read it. Reaffirm the truth. The third step is the detoxification of your mind. You must actively deprogram the lies you have internalized. This requires confronting the cognitive dissonance, the conflict between the person you believed them to be and the person they truly are. You must accept the agonizing truth. The person you loved never existed. They were a mask, a construct, an illusion designed to exploit you. You are not grieving a person. You are grieving a fantasy. The fourth step is the forging of a new identity. The destruction of your old self creates the space for the emergence of a stronger, wiser, more resilient version of you. This requires channeling the pain, the anger, the rage into productive action. The financial ruin must be confronted head-on. The addiction must be treated as a symptom of the trauma, not a character flaw. You must rebuild your life, brick by brick, not as a return to who you were, but as the creation of who you are becoming. This is the alchemy of post-traumatic growth. The emotional insecurity and fragility that made you a target must be transformed into emotional intelligence and resilience. The sensitivity that allowed them to exploit you must be honed into a powerful tool for discernment. You must learn to trust your instincts again. Your intuition was screaming at you for years. You chose to ignore it. Now, you must learn to listen. The defense against future manipulation lies not in building walls, but in cultivating an unbreakable sense of self-worth. When you truly value yourself, you will no longer tolerate behaviors that seek to diminish you. The final step is the acceptance of the ultimate truth. Their manipulation was never about you. It was about their own brokenness, their own void, their own darkness. They chose you not because you were weak, but because you were strong. They saw your light, your empathy, your capacity for love, and they sought to consume it. The fact that you survived, that you are here seeking knowledge, striving for recovery, is proof of your resilience. You have endured the crucible. You have faced the darkness. Now you must rise from the ashes. The scars you bear are not signs of defeat. They are the marks of a warrior who has fought a battle for their own soul and emerged victorious. The path ahead is arduous. It will demand everything from you, but the reward is not merely survival. It is freedom. The freedom to live authentically, to love honestly, to build a life based on truth, not deception. The manipulator's power over you is broken the moment you choose to reclaim your reality. The self-destruction ends when you decide that you are worthy of salvation. The poison has been identified. The antidote is in your hands. The lesson is over.